Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. Today's story doesn't start with a fight. It starts with silence, a dinner table, and a note that made the entire room stop breathing. The table was set for two. Two glasses, two plates, two cloth napkins folded into quiet triangles. One bouquet of peach roses in the center, slightly leaning, like they already knew what was coming. Candles flickered, not for romance, for timing. 1 hour burned down to the stub. 2. By the third, the wax puddle looked like it had given up waiting too. She arrived at 9:47 p.m. Sharp heels. Laughter still clinging to her coat. Her phone buzzed in her hand as she walked through the door. She didn't see the table at first. She paused, stopped smiling. In front of her chair, instead of a gift-wrapped box like previous years, there was an envelope. Thick paper. My handwriting on the front. Just her name. No shouting from me. No confrontation. No, we need to talk. Just the letter, the roses, and absence. She sat down. Her fingers shook when she touched the seal. Maybe she thought it was a love note. Maybe she thought it was an apology for not texting back earlier that day. It wasn't. By the second paragraph, her hands were covering her mouth. By the fourth, her breathing was shallow. By the sixth, she looked up like she'd seen a ghost. Because I didn't just know. I proved it. Every Tuesday meeting. Every coffee receipt. The hotel booking under her maiden name. The selfie of them. Yes, them. Reflected in the sunglasses of a stranger walking past. I hadn't just noticed. I had collected. Like a quiet librarian filing away betrayals. The final line of the letter? It didn't ask her why. It didn't beg her to stay. It simply said, "You looked beautiful tonight. I hope he noticed because I no longer do." That was the night I left. She didn't chase after me. She couldn't. Because she finally understood. I was never coming back. I didn't drive far that night. Just to a 24-hour diner near the edge of town, where no one ever really talks and the coffee tastes like boiled cardboard. I didn't need flavor. I needed time. The kind of time where you let yourself feel stupid for loving someone too long. I stared at my phone like it might vibrate with an apology. Didn't. Not that night. Not the next day. Not the one after that either. The truth is, I didn't expect her to. See, Valerie always played the role of the misunderstood wife so well. When things went wrong, she'd sigh like the weight of the world was on her shoulders, and I, like a fool, would rush to carry it. But this time, I left the weight on the table, along with her roses. On the third day, I got an email. Not a call. Not a message. An actual email. It read like a corporate memo. Short. Formal. "I got your letter. I think we should talk. Please." That was it. "No, I'm sorry. No, I messed up. No, what you wrote broke me. Just, I think we should talk." Like we were negotiating office space. I didn't reply. Instead, I started packing. One drawer at a time. Carefully. Like I was erasing myself from our shared life without leaving fingerprints. I didn't even take everything. Just the essentials, a few books, my laptop, some clothes, and the framed photo of my late dog she never really liked anyway. By Friday, I had moved into a friend's guest room. Jonas, my old coworker, didn't ask questions. He just handed me a spare key and a blanket and said, "Stay as long as you need." I needed more than a place to sleep. I needed a place where the walls didn't whisper memories back at me every time I blinked. Valerie showed up the next day. She rang the bell once, then again, then pounded like her knuckles had something to prove. I watched from the upstairs window, sipping lukewarm tea, watching her shift her weight from foot to foot, frustrated, maybe embarrassed, probably both. But I didn't move. I didn't go down. And then she did something I didn't expect. She sat on the steps, in silence, for over an hour. Maybe she thought I'd eventually come out. Maybe she forgot I'd finally learned how not to. She came back the next morning. Same coat, same restless pacing. But this time she brought breakfast. From that cafe she used to say was our place. Back when that meant something. I saw the takeout bag, the steam slipping from the top like some pathetic peace offering. As if a breakfast sandwich could glue a marriage back together. She stood at the door longer this time, holding her phone, probably typing and erasing messages she never sent. At one point, she even smiled at the doormat like it reminded her of something funny. I didn't laugh. I didn't even blink. She finally left the bag on the doorstep, turned, and walked away. 10 minutes later, I tossed it. Not out of spite. I just couldn't eat anything she picked for me anymore. She used to know my order by heart. Now she didn't even know who I was without me reminding her. The silence between us became something almost physical. It had weight, pressed on my chest when I tried to sleep. It echoed in Jonas's spare room, bouncing between my thoughts like a voice I wasn't ready to hear yet. I didn't know if I was angrier at her for cheating, or at myself for taking so long to accept it. But I wasn't ready to hear why. Not from her. Not yet. By day 5, she started texting. At first, just, "Can we talk?" Then, "You got it all wrong. Please, Marvin. It wasn't what you think." But here's the thing. People don't accidentally lie for months. They don't forget to come home on anniversaries by mistake. And they sure as hell don't keep a second toothbrush at someone else's place without intention. That part came from one of the photos I printed and left inside the letter. A grainy shot from the back of a parking lot, taken through the window of her car. She and the guy, I still didn't even know his name at that point, were laughing heads close. His arm wasn't just on the seat. It was around her. And there it was, tucked in her purse like it belonged. A toothbrush with a blue handle. The same one that had been missing from our bathroom drawer for weeks. I never mentioned it. Not in person. Not in the letter. I didn't have to. That detail? That was for her. I wanted her to read that line, see that photo, and know that I knew everything. Not just the big betrayal. The little ones too. The thoughtless ones. The ones that said, "I've already replaced you." When she texted again that night, she said she was ready to explain everything, that I owed her a chance to speak. I stared at the message for a long time before typing just 3 words. Read the letter. I didn't think she'd actually reply to that message. For years, Valerie had a way of ignoring anything that made her feel even slightly uncomfortable. It was her gift, to sidestep guilt with grace and turn the tables before you even realized you were holding them. So when my phone buzzed again 2 hours later and her message read, I did read it. Every word. I didn't think you'd ever see me like that. I wasn't sure what I felt. Relief? Satisfaction? No. If I'm being honest, I felt empty. Like finally opening a long-awaited letter only to find a blank page. She didn't apologize. Not once. She didn't ask how I was. She just wanted to know where I got the photos, how long I'd known, and why I didn't confront her sooner. That last part, that "why didn't you say something?" That's the one that almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it was so painfully Valerie. She wanted me to clean up the mess she made. Again, I told her the truth, that I didn't say anything because I wanted to see who she became when no one was watching. And I did. I saw the real her. Not the version she showed to our friends. Not the one who posted throwback vacation photos with captions like, "Forever my person." But the one who got in someone else's car while wearing the necklace I gave her for our 10th anniversary. The one who came home smelling like cologne she didn't recognize. The one who, when I kissed her goodnight, leaned away without even noticing. She responded again, this time with more words. Long paragraphs. Regret dressed as justification. I didn't plan it. You were always busy. I felt unseen. I read every sentence, then deleted them without replying. Not because I was being dramatic, but because I was exhausted, emotionally bankrupt. Like I had spent so long holding the relationship up that when I finally let go, I didn't have the strength to catch myself either. The next morning, I got a call from her sister, Paige. She's the only one in Valerie's family who ever truly liked me. She didn't say much, just that Valerie hadn't left her room since reading my letter, that she'd stopped going to work, that she'd cried for 6 hours straight. For a second, I felt something I hated, guilt. But then I remembered. I remembered every excuse, every empty chair at dinner, every time she said, "You're overreacting," while her phone buzzed on silent in the other room. No, I wasn't guilty. I was just done. and for the first time in years, done felt like peace. 3 days passed without another word from her. I kept expecting the next knock, the next message, the next excuse disguised as reflection. But there was nothing. Valerie had always been the loud one in the relationship, always talking her way out of consequences. This silence was new. It almost worried me, until I remembered silence isn't always surrender. Sometimes it's just calculation. I didn't trust her quiet, not for a second. Then, late Friday night, I got a voicemail. She must have called when she knew I wouldn't answer. I could hear the effort in her voice, the kind of soft, rehearsed tone people use when they're trying to sound broken, but still in control. She said she was processing everything, that the letter had woken her up, and she missed the man she used to love. Not the man I love. The man she used to love. That sentence landed like ice down my spine. It was the first time I realized she didn't want me back. She wanted the version of me that let her cheat without consequence. The Marvin who bought her birthday gifts even when she forgot his. The Marvin who apologized for making her feel guilty while she lied to his face. She missed the man who accepted less than he deserved. So I did something I didn't expect to do. I went back to the house. Not to see her. Not to talk. But to collect the last thing that mattered to me, the journal. It wasn't just a notebook. It was where I wrote everything I couldn't say out loud. Things I noticed, things I feared, pieces of myself I had no space for in our conversations. I'd hidden it behind an old box of tax files in the closet. When I walked in, the place was darker than I remembered. Not just in lighting, but in mood. Like the house itself knew it had been stained by something it couldn't scrub out. She wasn't home. I didn't stay long. But I saw something before I left that I can't forget. On the dining table, right where I had left the roses, was my envelope. Torn open, the letter inside folded and unfolded so many times the creases had turned white. Next to it was a photo. One I didn't include. One of us from years ago. She must have found it in my drawer. We were at the coast, laughing. She had her arm hooked through mine like she never wanted to let go. It was almost cruel, seeing that moment beside the wreckage of everything else. And underneath the photo, in her handwriting, were 4 words scribbled on a torn napkin. Was I always this? I stood there for a long time, staring at it. And for once, I didn't have an answer. That night, after I left the house, I didn't go back to Jonas's. I just drove. Nowhere in particular, just along the back roads outside town, where the trees lean in like they're trying to eavesdrop. I kept replaying those words she scribbled. Was I always this? It was haunting in a way. Not because it sounded regretful, but because it sounded like someone who genuinely didn't know the answer. And maybe that's what scared me the most. That she'd become a stranger to herself long before she became one to me. I ended up parked outside an old bookstore that used to be our favorite spot when we first moved in together. It had long since closed down, but the faded open sign still hung crooked in the window like it was waiting for someone to believe in it again. I sat there, staring through the glass, remembering how she used to rest her head on my shoulder while flipping through travel books, saying things like, "Someday, Marvin, let's go everywhere." We never made it past Michigan. My phone lit up again. Valerie. I let it ring. Again. Then a text. "I want to give you something." I didn't reply. I just stared at those words until the screen went dark. I thought about blocking her. I really did. But curiosity has a funny way of attaching itself to pain. Sometimes you want to see what else the person who broke you can take from you. I know how pathetic that sounds. I hated myself for it. The next day, she left a box at Jonas's porch. No note, just a pale blue gift bag with my name written on a tag in black ink. I didn't open it right away. I made coffee. I checked my email. I folded laundry I didn't need to fold. Anything to delay the inevitable. Finally, I sat on the edge of the bed and opened it. Inside was the watch I lost 2 years ago. My father's watch. I had asked her about it back then, and she said she hadn't seen it. Swore it must have been lost during our last move. I searched every drawer, every box, tore through the garage twice. I even accused the movers. But here it was, perfect, unscratched, ticking away like nothing ever happened. And suddenly it made sense. She hadn't just lied about another man. She had lied about everything. I held the watch in my hand and realized just how long I had been alone in my own marriage. How long I had been clinging to memories while she had quietly erased the meaning behind every one of them. I used to believe love could survive anything, miscommunication, distance, even time. But it couldn't survive indifference. And indifference is exactly what she gave me, one lie at a time. I put the watch on. It still fit perfectly. But somehow it didn't feel like mine anymore. Just like she didn't. 2 days passed without another delivery, message, or knock on the door. And yet, everything still felt so loud. My thoughts wouldn't shut up. Every quiet moment buzzed with replayed memories, twisted meanings, questions that had no good answers. I kept wondering if she had planned to give the watch back all along, or if she only returned it now because the guilt finally caught up. But the truth is, I didn't care about the watch anymore. Not really. It was just another symbol of how much I'd lost without ever being told I was losing it. Then came the email. Subject line, "Please, last one." I should have deleted it. I should have rolled my eyes and gone back to pretending I didn't care. But I didn't. I opened it. The body was short. Just a request to meet at that little lake house her cousin used to rent out for summers. The one with the peeling white shutters and the dock that creaked when you stepped on it too fast. She wrote, "I'll leave the door unlocked. You don't have to say anything. Just read what I wrote and go." I stared at the screen for a long time, torn between common sense and that last thread of curiosity still clinging to my ribs. I knew I shouldn't go, but I also knew that if I didn't, I'd wonder for the rest of my life what she thought was important enough to write now. So I went. It was early evening, the sky dimming into that golden gray color that feels like the world is holding its breath. The house looked just as I remembered it. A little older, maybe, a little sadder. I stepped inside, and it was quiet. Too quiet. Just the sound of the wind coming off the lake and the faint creak of the dock outside. The letter was on the coffee table. No envelope. No frills. Just my name at the top in her handwriting and 10 pages of lined notebook paper underneath. 10 pages. I sat down and read every word. She didn't beg. She didn't blame. She wrote about the beginning, about us. The early years, the little moments she said she still replayed when she couldn't sleep. She confessed to feeling invisible, irrelevant, like she was aging into someone even she didn't recognize. She said the affair wasn't about him, not really. He was just the first person who noticed her after years of feeling like wallpaper. But buried between her explanations and soft regrets, there was a sentence that hollowed me out completely. "I wanted to tell you so many times, but you always looked so proud of us. And I didn't want to ruin the only thing in my life that still looked beautiful from the outside." It wasn't remorse. It was damage control. She didn't stay because she loved me. She stayed because she liked how we looked. And when I broke the illusion, she finally had nothing left to protect. I folded the pages, placed them back on the table, and stood. No words. No note in return. I locked the door behind me as I left. I didn't cry on the way back. I didn't feel angry or victorious or vindicated. I felt clean. Like for the first time in years, I wasn't dragging around someone else's weight disguised as love. I drove with the windows down, letting the autumn air hit my face like it was rinsing off everything she left behind. There was no need to look back. Nothing worth staring at anymore. I moved out of Jonas's place a week later and signed a lease on a small apartment near the bookstore that reopened under new owners. Funny enough, it looks almost exactly like it used to. Same creaky floors, same mismatched chairs, same sleepy cat curled up in the window. But it feels different now. Or maybe I do. Valerie never wrote again. No calls. No messages. Just silence. And that's fine. We had spoken enough without actually listening. I don't hate her. I don't wish her pain. I just hope, sincerely, that someday she becomes someone she doesn't have to apologize for. And I hope I never settle for being someone's background again. These days, I go for walks without checking the time. I eat when I'm hungry, sleep when I'm tired, and write letters I don't have to send. I even bought a new watch, not to replace the old one, but to remind myself that my time is mine again. Fully, freely. A few nights ago, I was sitting at that same diner from the beginning, the one with the terrible coffee, and I caught myself smiling. Not because life is perfect now, not even close, but because I finally feel like I'm living my story again. Not hers, not ours, mine. And that's enough. Thank you for watching Reddit Confessions. If you've ever lived through something that looked perfect from the outside but broke you from within, share your story below. What was the moment that changed everything for you? We'd love to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful true stories, right here on Reddit Confessions.